So, welcome to Walpole United WFC. Hello and welcome to Walpole United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Match preview tonight, something slightly different on a Friday. We will try and get some topics in as well after the preview. Just a bit of an introduction first to everybody. Marty, how you doing, mate?
We're doing good. It's sunny here, middle afternoon, so it's pretty cool.
Raining here, absolutely hailing down here, not very nice at all. John, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all right. Thanks, John. All good, mate.
Awesome. Nice to actually do a show with you when I'm not actually in my car on my work car park. I'm on lunch break, so that's always a bonus. Andrew, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for having me back on.
No problem. And Ellie, welcome back. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good. All eyes on tomorrow now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we'll start the show with. So. Reading against Man United, obviously playing away from home. Reading up and down season. That's probably why they're sitting in sixth. They've had some good runs. They've had a couple of bad ones as well. I think what we do need to be mindful of is if they win their game in hand and they win us, then they're hot on our tails. What that means in the long term, I'm not too sure. But if they're like above City and above Spurs, and City and Spurs are our rivals, then I think we need to bear that in mind that potentially Reading could be our rivals as well. But that's looking on the negative side. On the positive side, we are favourites for this game, in my opinion. Had a bit of a rocky month in regards to results. I think the Arsenal Conte game was fantastic. We was there, and that was definitely the pinnacle. Probably one of the best moments of Man United women's supporting career so far. And I think we did have that good game, but unfortunately results since then and a couple before then not so good. So I think for me now I'll be looking at this as the run-in until the last couple of games of the season. So let's see where we end up. What I would say is if you assess at the start of the season after 15 games we'd be third above City. No one below us has got any games in hand that can leapfrog us. I think that's a decent position to be in. So I think if you kind of ignore all the bad results lately, we've managed to put ourselves in a position where it's still in our hands. It's just that Chelsea game at the end of the season that's worrying me. So, Marty, let's start off with yourself. Reading tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
I think we should beat them. Okay. Theoretically, we should beat them handily. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen. But I still believe that we'll beat them. I think we should at least score 2 goals, solidly. And I just hope that he continues, Mark continues to rotate the squad. Okay, like he seemed to be doing last match, where he actually moved people around. I understand we're not going to have Haley Ladd available, so I think he'll probably have about the same lineup that he had, last match. And then it's just a matter of, rotating and hoping that, not hoping, but I think Brune needs to get more into the system in terms of figuring out the passes and what is her best way of attacking and what is the team's best way of coordinating that, if you know what I mean. I think they've just been a little bit out of sync. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have expected more production already. At least something close, like a great save, or hitting the post or something like that. And I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't really seen her being active. So yeah, I'm all for us, definitely winning, and I think it's going to be like 2 goals.
Okay. I think on my prediction show with Anthony earlier today, I said 2-0 United, and obviously we can all give our predictions throughout the show, but yeah, I'm thinking 2-0. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy 2-0, by the way. I think it's going to go down. Hopefully, just grind it out. John, what are your thoughts going into this game, mate?
Tough game, I think. Reading always seem to put up a good fight against us. I think I think we'll be okay. I mean, you look at the amount of chances that Spurs had last weekend down there, even though they didn't score one. But I think we should be able to create enough to win the game. It's just obviously making sure that we don't give anything away stupid at the back. Give them any easy opportunities. Because obviously they are tough to break down, but I think we'll just have enough for them. Fingers crossed.
Do you think that'll be the key there, John? Like just keeping that clean sheet, because the way I see it is, we will probably get chances, maybe not loads. We might not be any clear-cut chances. There might be some shots outside the box, but you always said a better chance when you keep a clean sheet. Is that key? Just making sure that it's tight at the back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right there, John. Yeah, clean sheet, keep everything tight at the back, and I think that'll be the key for us. I'll just see us through.
Yeah. Any concerns, Andrew, about this game? What are you thinking?
You could argue these next 7 games for United, including the one tomorrow, is going to be the most important, because at the end of the season we want to be qualifying for the Champions League. Obviously, last month, it was one to forget for us fans, because we didn't record a win across all the competitions, but we got back to winning ways last week against Leicester, so we just want to carry on and build that form up. And as you said, it's just that last game against Chelsea is just a worry for me as well. But also Tottenham are hot on our heels as well, and they're just, I think, on the same amount of points, but it's just goal difference that's keeping us in third. So it's the injuries that's, as I say, I'm fearing the most. Hopefully we can get those players that they're going to be coming back, and then they can help us in the run up until the end of the season. But I mean, for Reading, I mean, they've got an outside chance of getting into the top 3, so they'll be wanting to go for it tomorrow. And they'll be pushing to get the victory. So we've just got to have our wits about us and not, make any individual errors or mistakes that lead to goals, and we give them their chance. So, but I think we should say they're going to give us a tough time, but I think we'll manage to get past them.
Hello to everybody in the comments. We have started a little bit later tonight, 8 o'clock. That is my fault. I have been at work, so I've literally just rushed home. So thanks to everybody who joins us or joins us on the replay. We mentioned the league table already, so I'll just quickly whiz through it. Obviously, Arsenal, Chelsea at the top. United played 15, got 28 points. Spurs played 15, got 28 points. As Andrew says, we are just slightly ahead on goal average. You've then got City with a game in hand on 23 points. Reading in 6th. Same games as us on 23 points, and then Brighton and West Ham shortly behind them. So, I mean, the league table, Ellie, I mean, it's very tight this season. You can probably predict the bottom of the league now, but the top of the league and the top 3 race, it's still wide open, isn't it?
Yeah, it's there's Arsenal, Chelsea, and then there's us. So massive games now. I think we've got to try and win, because if we lose one of them or 2 of it, it'll be we might not even get 3rd, and we really want 3rd place. We want to go in the Champions League, so it's all eyes on these last few games. I think, like you said, the hardest one will be Chelsea, I think. Yeah,
well, obviously we're gradually getting closer week by week to that Chelsea game, and I think it's the case now. We talk about every game as a cup final, but it really is, because City's just doing so well at the moment. They're getting back on. Well, they're well on form at the moment. They're looking quite scary, and we even said come December, January that they were our closest rivals for top 3, and that's when they had all these injuries. So they were doing well back then, and I agree. I think you've got to go into every game aiming to win it. And Ellie, do you think we can actually win every game up until the Chelsea one?
Possibly. I've seen someone say because of our injuries that could be a problem, but I don't think it can, because we've still got that quality on the team. So we've still got quality on the team to actually go out there and do a good performance. So
yeah,
I think.
Martin, let's bring you in on this one. Is Reading the type of game that we could slip up on? Because you look at Reading, and then we got a West Ham game after that, then Everton. 3 games that on paper we should be winning, but they're not easy. We have to be at our best to make sure that we win those.
Reading can be a banana peel, for sure. It was definitely, it cost us Champions League last year. We should have won. We didn't, and those points, or that point difference that we lost in that match, was the reason why Arsenal came in third. Solely because Arsenal had already knocked off all their hurdles. I mean, I think City's not going to lose another match. I think it'll take 3 points, and it's looking at the Spurs right now. I think they've, there's a phrase, it's called "shot your wad." I think that they basically have done it already. Their schedule coming up is they got Chelsea twice. They've got City and Arsenal. They're not going to survive, in staying in the top 3 or top 4. They're not, I don't think. But they can take a stand. Reading can definitely be a banana peel. And like I said, reasonably, like Ellie said, we have the quality of players. We absolutely out and out can match every team, in quality of players. We may not have as many, okay, in terms of that the rosters for Chelsea and Arsenal and City are a lot deeper than what we have. But, I'd put our, if we have everybody healthy, I'd put us up against anybody, and we can match them as long as strategically and effort wise, we show up to play. Okay. That's what I believe in. But yeah, tomorrow, I mean, against Reading, at Reading, it's going to be a tough match. And that's why I think, we should win. We should win it going away, but I don't think we're gonna. I think it's going to be extremely tough. I do think that we will hold on and last, and it may be a 1-0. I'm hoping for a 2-0, so that way I'm not sweating it in the last 10 minutes. Okay, but but it could be 1-0 leading and then end up at draw. Okay, which I don't think's which to me is not helping us any. It's I wouldn't say it's as bad as a loss, but it's really, it's really going to take a hit.
Yeah, so just to jump on about Reading, I mean, like last weekend, they struggled to create many chances against Tottenham, but it ended up being a clean sheet for them. I think it's their 6th clean sheet of the campaign, so and they got the point out of it. So they'll want to get back to winning ways, and they've had a good strong run of form between October and the beginning of February, which means, as I just said earlier, they've got an outside chance of getting the top 3. But I mean, God forbid they got all the points against us, that would take them within 2 points of us. So and obviously relying on mistakes from Spurs and Man City as well. So and also one of the key things for Reading has been the home form this season. They've took 16 points from a possible 24. So winning 5 of their 8 matches, and you suspect they'll be very confident in front of their home crowd. So it's and they've got 3 more games, but I think 2 of them against is it one against City and then us, and then I'm trying to remember the last one. I think it might be West Ham they've got. So, but
City's last match is at Reading.
Yes,
and that's going to be pretty significant.
Yeah, because I know they've got to pay them twice. I think they've got to go away to City. That was it. I was quickly reading their fixtures. So Reading, say they'll be confident on their own ground. So we've just got to not be their banana skin and say if we just remain composed and just say when we get those opportunities to score, we take them and just put red into the sword and just come away with all 3 points at the end of it.
Yeah. James is saying that obviously you can't underestimate Reading, and I don't think anyone on the panel is tonight, even just because we might predict a United win, you can't underestimate them. But we're talking about how good Reading can be or how good they are. John, we've shown this season that, we were forced. If you have a look down midfield at the moment, even though we don't have Hayley Ladd, all of our players in midfield are on form, aren't they? How dangerous do you think we can be? Do you think Reading will be looking at us kind of thinking they're there for the taking, or do you think Reading are looking at us thinking, flipping out. We're a bit scared of these. Tooney's on form. Well, I don't know if Tooney's on form, but throughout the season she's on form, and Zellem's banging in the goals, corners. They won't want to concede any corners, that's for certain. Jackie and Balvisa, you know, we're looking quite strong in midfield, even though we've got those injuries.
Yeah, we've got some good options at the minute in the midfield, that's for sure. I think as far as Reading are concerned, they'll be looking to impose themselves quite physically, certainly early on. You know, to try and negate them a bit. But yeah, even though we've got a few injuries, the midfield is looking quite strong, and you know we've got good options from the start and on the bench as well. So I think that's been probably one of the things that's you know served as well over the last few games. Really, the variety and quality of players that we've got in the midfield at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. TJ in the comments talking about Chelsea. We've got a show on that tomorrow, I believe, with Ben and Matt. So yeah, look out for that one. I think they're going to touch on that a little bit more. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the starting 11, then about maybe like how we should approach the game. So Ellie, just start off with yourself. Just what are your thoughts? Not so much about what players we should use, but how do you think we should approach the game? You know, should we go out and just go toe to toe with them and just put our own mark on the game, or should we be a bit more cautious? You know, we're playing away from home against a decent team. Do you think we should play a bit defensive? How would you kind of play?
Playing in defensive and attack, I reckon, because we're away from home, that is a hurdle, because they're gonna have more fans than us and everything. So they've got something that. So I think we need to be more in defence, really,
Okay.
but we also can be good in attack tomorrow. So that it can go either way, really. So
Andrew,
yeah, I think we should
just
go out. We should just go out there, I think, tomorrow and just give it our all again.
Yeah. Ellie just mentioned the fans there. Are you going to that one, Andrew? I haven't even caught up with you on this game because it's a midweek game, and I know that you work late, don't you?
Yeah, I was hoping to go, well, because the United men's team are playing tomorrow evening as well. Kept thinking about can I do Reading back to Manchester, but the difference, well, I'd have to have missed bits of one game and then the other, so I'll be watching the women's game on TV, so and then heading to watch the men's team. So
yeah,
I was debating it right until the end. Well, can I do it? But I just think, if I hit a bit of traffic, I'll be like,
yeah, I know you'd be there. Trust me, I know that you've had a lot of the games this season, if not nearly all of them. But do you think Ellie's got a point there about the crowd? Do you think this game's going to be like so close that maybe the loudness of the fans could make that difference?
It could do, but I think for the players, they've just, I don't know, sort of block that out and just do what they need to do on the pitch, and just like as long as they get all, say, the basics right and say start creating those chances, then and if we put them away, then we should say take the 3 points from Reading, but we can't say. Don't want to get too overconfident thinking we've already won it. We're just going to be, say, a bit cautious. Like, say, I remember from the because we played Reading on the opening day of the season. I mean, to say Reading were pushing us as well on that game, if I remember rightly. So we know what they're capable of. We just think our defence. They've got to be on top of their game, and so like Maria, Hannah, Diane, and Honor as well. So, because I'm just remembering from the City game, a few individual mistakes cost us. So just hopefully the City game is where we did all the mistakes and we don't have any more during the course of the rest of the season. So it costs us. So it's one where it's got to be cautious and ready and just build our way into the game.
I think I'd be the same. I think I'd be go out to attack and just do what do. If we play at our best and we control that game, we should be able to create chances. We just need to make sure that we don't do anything stupid at the back, and we should be okay. We've got Lanzel in the comments saying that if we play our game, we will be dominant in parts. We've got TJ saying we need to be offensive-minded in the Reading game, in your opinion. And then we've got TJ here saying our defence matches up fine against their offence. I get it, yeah. Let's talk about personnel then, Marty. We'll start off with goalkeepers first. Mary's been absolutely fantastic all season. Obviously, made a blooper or two in one of the previous games.
Yeah, I think that was in part to a miscommunication, and one was definitely just okay, total brain cramp, in terms of it. That's a stop that we've seen her make for every single time, like every single time she makes it absolutely 99 out of 100, and that one time it just went through. Okay. I think Mary's going to be very solid. The thing that I'm worried about is Rose. Deanne. I think it's Deanne Rose. Okay. We saw during the City game that Hannah just could not keep up with Rosso on the side. Okay, could not. Rosso was just flying by her. The only worry that I do have, and I still stick to, I think we're going to win, but the only worry I do have is we do not do speed well. When it comes to our opponents, like if our opponents have speedy players, we look like we're slogging through concrete and they are flying by. Okay. And we don't have Lad on the, she won't be there tomorrow to do a very timely poke, as they're flying by, and she has perfect timing on that. So Ona on the one side is going to be very, very good, but I do think that we do need to have a good midfield in terms of strategy on how to slow Rose up, because we really don't have anybody on our squad who can keep up with her, in my opinion. I just don't think they're as fast. And Maria tends to get a little wobbly, is a bit of a word sometimes, where the player coming at her is so fast that she sort of either doesn't set herself to move to make a defensive position, properly, and then gets caught up. And next thing you know, we're looking at a goal for the other team. So that's my only concern. I do think that we will still make it out, but that's a possibility that can happen. I could see it. I could see that easily happening with Rose. So.
Yeah. 100%. And Sang in the comments is saying that Mark is correct about the lack of covering pace, and I agree. Got Mark in the comments as well saying Red, you're a tricky team. I think a lot of people in the comments are basically saying that we should be favourites. However, this is no way a walkover. This is going to be
not a gimme.
No, absolutely, I agree. Yeah. John, talk to me about the defence. Then I think it kind of speaks for itself. Unless, would you throw Smithy in there, or we saw Martha Harris get a bit of game time in the last game as well? Would you do anything slightly different with the fullbacks at all?
I wouldn't have thought so. I wouldn't think it'll change the back four at all from the Leicester game, to be honest. I think I'll stick with the same back four definitely against Reading. It's like I say, the only slight concern is like I say that there's sort of a bit of lacking in a bit of pace back there at the minute. But I think that back four is probably the best best we could put out there that we need to against them.
Yeah, Andrew, do you agree with that? Because I don't think we need to do anything too radical, because we've had roughly a week to kind of recover. So it's not like that they've already played like loads of games and it's like been like 2 games a week for like the past 3 weeks. Are you confident that fatigue isn't such an issue with the defence and it's just a case of playing your best players, or has he got West Ham on his mind and rotate it a little bit that way?
It's just, because we've had a week's worth of training. Plus we still got Aoife and Millie out as well, so I just think it would be pretty much the same defence as last week. So Hannah, Maria, Diane, and Honor. So I just think you want to keep those players in the side so they building their form as well. So I just think I don't expect too many changes from Mark. So I think he might go with the same defence against West Ham as well. So we just want to keep that rhythm and the form. So if we win tomorrow, we want to keep that good winning run going. So yeah, I don't expect too many changes in the side.
We'll come on to midfield in a second, Lansel, but Jackie did a decent job in the number 6 in the previous game, so it might be a call for Jackie, but we'll get into that one shortly. Elle, just finish up with yourself regarding the defence. Would you stick with like Honor, Blundell, and the only 2 fit centre backs, or would you do something slightly different?
I'd stick with the same, I think.
Yeah.
With them two really clinical in defence, with Mannion out as well. So I think I'd just stick with the same ones. I think it might rotate it, but it might keep it the same as last game, I reckon.
Yeah. Let's ask you a more difficult question then. Pick your midfield 3. How would you go with this one? Because obviously you can't pick obviously Lad or Lucy, but there's 4 other quality midfielders in there. We might even want to put a Carrie Jones or a Fuso around the place as well. What would your midfield
I can say I may do what I'll say if I start more and more now, because like last week's game, I think she came on like, was it 10 minutes of the last half? So maybe I want to see her starting.
Yeah.
So I do hope she starts tomorrow game,
Okay.
or even have a half.
Yeah.
Because like I think she does need more game time. Really.
You could be right. Like so, with having West Ham in mind, you could change it around, and this could be the game for Fuso. Fuso's done nothing wrong, in my opinion. I think she's had a real good season. I just think that she's been picked to the post by how good Galton is, how good Tooney's been on that right hand side. Martha Thomas is very underrated. We've seen Fuso out wide every now and again. So I just think that, unfortunately for Fuso, the players who she's competing against are also doing really well. Lanzel's got a comment here. Maybe we can all just quickly answer this one. Do you think Mark would put the devs on the bench due to injuries? On the bench, potentially. I don't think any of them will be starting. I think that's a massive jump. Just quickly go around the room. Can you see any of the youngsters who maybe lifted a trophy earlier in the week get any game time? Marty, yourself first.
Honestly, no. I do see them possibly later on, maybe against Aston Villa. Depending upon how they're doing, because they seem to be scuffing at the moment. I think that if he wants to get him game time, he's going to put him in at a point where we're leading by a lot. Okay, say we're up by 5-6 goals, and we're up against a team that we definitely have in hand, and it's going to not. They need to be put in a positive experience.
Yeah.
And to me, that's most important, is that they being devs, that they, their first go round and their first time on the pitch is a positive experience for them, because at this stage in their career, if they go in and they just get, they make that defensive error, they just muck it up, in a bad way, that's going to really set them back horribly. And I don't want to see that, because they have so much potential.
Agree. John, very quickly on that question. I mean, can you see any of the devs come in? It's most likely to be a Rebecca May or a Poppy Lawson, you think, just due to injuries in that position. I can't see any of the strikers getting in because we're fully equipped up there. But can any of those get any game time, you think?
I don't think, probably in terms of game time, they won't be. I don't think we'll see them unless we get a real, another 1 or 2 injuries. But you could certainly see a few of them being in and around the squad on the bench, just to give them that bit of experience, being around the first team squad on a match day. I could certainly see the benefit there. But unless we end up with a maybe like a dead rubber game towards the end of the season, which doesn't look like it's going to be likely.
No.
Hopefully we'll be still in the thick of getting third place. hopefully. So I think it might just be a bit of a stretch too far at the end of this season for the under-21s.
Andrew, sticking back with the midfield then. So how would you go about this? We all want Tooney to be that centre attacking midfielder. That's best role, but you also don't want to drop Bovis to Jackie or Katie, do we? So, would you sacrifice Tooney and put him on the right, or would you do something a little bit different? How would you approach this midfield three?
I was going to say, it's a difficult one, and it's good we've got all these players to choose from. I just think it's saying like Tooney on the right. I think we could actually see Russo go on the right tomorrow, and Thomas will go through as be the centre forward. So, because Martha scored last week as well, so I think she'll definitely probably retain her place as well. So it's just, I don't know whether you put Tooney on the left. I just think in terms of like Katie Zellum, she's in the perfect form at the minute. She's just like scoring goals from corners everywhere at the minute. So and say Katie can't be dropped from the side, and I think it might be. And Jackie did all right last week as well, so I just think it could be just Jackie and Katie in the midfield. So I just see it's probably going to be Jackie, Katie, and then it'll probably be Tooney, Russo, Thomas, and then Galton. So yeah, so you could put Galton on the left, and then Tooney just sitting behind Martha as well. So, which I think that's where Tooney works best, just sitting behind the forward as well, so they can just link up together as well.
Yeah, if I could just answer my own question, I think it's a choice of either playing Martha Thomas or that additional midfielder. In other words, if that additional midfielder comes in, Tooney's obviously out wide, so you're either going to play your Bovis, Jackie, Zellum, and Tooney, or you're going to drop one of them and put Martha Thomas in. I've got no idea which way he's going to go. Like TJ said in the comments, it's a great one to have, and whoever doesn't play will be a fantastic game changer. Come 55, 60, 65 minutes. So I think it is a great problem to have. And Tooney, the last couple of games, maybe not on the best of form. Maybe safer for the West Ham game. There's no harm in that. But I'm sure that at some point they'll probably all get a bit of game time. Marty, just sticking with yourself there on the midfield combination. This will be an interesting one. How would you go about lining up this midfield three?
I honestly think he's going to stick with the same lineup that he had last match. But what I would like to see is toward if we're leading, okay, and we're leading either by 1 or 2 goals, that about the 70th minute, he subs in for Katie Zellum. Okay, she has been doing wonderfully on the offensive end, but toward the end of a match, she seems to not. She's not really a defensive midfielder per se, like Haley Ladd is, okay, where you're looking at and you're going to get a lot more defense out of Haley than you will get offense, okay, and she's, your line, she's going to stop you before you get too far within the mid, and she's great on transition. Katie seems to be more offensively minded and more forward thinking, and I think if we're leading, I do think that we need to not adjust things so that we're a little bit more defense. And I honestly think she just gets tired toward the end, and she doesn't have the same energy level, and where she's more offensive than defensive to begin with. When she's working on her defense, it's much more of an effort, and I would like to see fresh legs and fresh, just being a yipping yapping dog on whatever foot that ball's on. Okay, that's what I want to see in the midfield. So that way you can't free anybody. Nobody's getting free toward our end of the goal. Okay, toward our goal. Okay, that's what I would like. So I do think that what you're saying with regard to Martha Thomas and Tooney, where they're located, I think this match needs to absolutely have 2 different strategies, the first half, the second half, and depend upon whether we're leading or whether we need to tie it up or need to go ahead. And I think its circumstances are going to and should determine what the subs are. But I do like a rotation just because they're just going to get tired. And Reading is one of those teams that you just feel like you're slogging, when you're playing them because they are all over you. You have to work so hard when you play them. They're not easy to play. You have to fight for every ball. You have to be on point. You have to be in the game, in the match at all times. They don't give you time to think. They don't give you time to rest. And they're just completely different match from last week. Last week was an easy flowing space, time. I can think an encyclopedia while I'm dribbling the ball up the field. Russo can go from end to end, which I love seeing, by the way. That's not going to be that kind of match this weekend. It's going to be dogfight. It's just going to be like, okay, they give you 2 inches and you're trying to take 3 inches. It's going to be that kind of match. So I'd like us to see a little bit more. I do think that you're going to see Bo Risa. I think you see Jackie. You're going to see, obviously you're going to see Katie in there. I think that Tooney will be there. I think Bruins will be there. I think Fuso will be in there if we need a goal, okay? Yeah. Or if he thinks he can use her speed to deter Rose.
Okay. I'm getting more excited listening to you, Marty. I was thinking, I'm really looking forward to watching this game now. Lanzo is on about Fuso as well, so he agrees with UL. Where would you put Fuso then? Would you put him as one of the front three, or would you play him in that centre attacking midfield? Where would you play her?
Well, front three actually, because I think in last game she did a really good run up. So yeah, I think she should go on the front three.
Okay, I agree.
I really don't know what I see starting tomorrow.
Who would you have in your front three if you had Fuso, presumably on one side? Who would you other two be?
Diane, I think.
El, your camera just got a little bit funny, so just bear with me. I was going to move on to Andrew and just ask him the same kind of question, then I'll come back to you in a bit, El. Your front three then. Would you put Fuso in there, or would you kind of stick with the more senior players for this game and put Fuso on the next game or the game changer? I think no matter what, I can't see Fuso playing, but I really wanted to. But then again, is that just my heart out of my brain kind of thing? I don't know, but I think she's done so well and she deserves some chance. But is the chance going to be West Ham instead, or? And then we got Hanson as well. We've done a show last Friday, wasn't it? Where Barry was really trying to get Hanson in, and she had a bit of game time, but not a lot. We've got so many options, haven't we?
I was just going to say, I think I'll keep with the established players at the minute. I think Fuso can be the game changer. I mean, even like last week when she came on, she's shown, getting around the pitch and showing that pace of hers, and also I'm remembering back to the 20 Cup game against Chelsea, even though we were losing, she just came on and literally, give me the ball, I'm going to get us on the attack and try and get us back into the game. But I think he might save it for West Ham, but I say I'd like to see more of Fuso as well. It's Skinner's got, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a good choice for him to have. So he's got these players to choose from. So he's got options for players who he wants to start with, but also you can look to his bench. Oh, you're a game changer. You're a game changer. So if we need, if we haven't, got a bit of Reading, take the lead, and then we're having to chase the game, then we have to throw in some subs to get those goals. Then Mark can look to his bench and, Hanson and Fuso could change the game for us. But I'd say stick with the established player of Tooney, Russo, and Thomas for tomorrow. So in the attacking lineup.
Yeah, I agree. Come on, Marty. I know there's something that you want to say on this one.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so we've got Leah, who's usually migrating and owning the left side. Okay, then we've got Fuso up the middle. We've got Tooney up the middle. We got Russo on the right hand side, and Tooney will play right every so often. We got Martha Thomas through the middle, I think Mark's got an issue, and not an issue in a bad way, just more of a query. And my question to our group is, does Mark have anybody who can really effectively play an offensive, what I would call a winger, okay, on the left-hand side? That is a left-footed striker. Do we have somebody as a true backup to Leah? And is that why Leah doesn't really get rotated out? And so therefore he's having to fit what, five, six people into really two spots.
Am I right in thinking, I really can't remember if this is right or wrong, but I'll still say my answer on this. The one game that Leah maybe didn't play, is that where we played 5 in midfield and it was like the 5 midfielders with so front, where we played Stanley, Ladd, Zellum, Bobby, Sir, and Tooney?
Was that the Brighton game? We might have not played Leah.
It might have been. I don't know.
I think he might have done it.
So I think that's how we kind of done something different. We haven't, Marty, in my opinion. I don't think. I mean, potentially you could put like a Hantinov on that left-hand side, which would work. I'm sure it would be okay. But I don't think there's anyone that's kind of got that dynamic, explosive.
Yeah, a true left-footed striker. The only one that I remember that is on the left-hand side that will strike from the left-hand side is Ona. You know, that I've seen that she will take some strikes and she'll put it on her left foot or manipulate it. And Hansen does pretty good because she'll cross over, but the last minute it always ends up being a right foot. I think, and I'm not really great at this part, but strategy I'm really good at. And what I noticed is he's not really, we have really good offensive people. Excellent, phenomenal offensive people. And I think we just have a glut in this one section, and so he just ends up, what Andrew said is going with the same people, and so you're not going to get a lot of Fuso, but Fuso needs minutes, and I'm not sure Fuso's can do the left side, and maybe that's on his wish list for the summer. Maybe that's one of those things. And I don't know whether Bruin can. Whether when they got Bruin in, whether that's one of her abilities. So that was my question to the group: is maybe you guys noticed something that I, hadn't picked up on, or there's a reason for why it's going in the way it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, John, what are your thoughts on that question by Marty, and also if Galton was out, and hopefully that's not going to be the case, but she might not be able to start every game. How would you kind of approach that game?
Yeah, that's the thing with Leah. I mean, she's such an outstanding player. That we haven't really got anybody that can sort of come near in terms of quality. We saw when she got injured, like sort of this time last season, how much we struggled for the rest of the games while she was out. So I think, as somebody mentioned, there's only really sort of like sort of Kirsty Hansen, who could probably sort of fill in for it, probably on the left-hand side. But other than that, like I say, there's nobody really that's anywhere near on the same level as what Leah is in terms of quality winger. Really, I don't think.
I think, Andy, we're lucky that we don't kind of play that way anyway, do we, at the moment? So it's not like, I think that's the only advantage. If Leah was out, we kind of play differently anyway. Now it's not like the old days under Casey where you kind of relied heavily on Galton and her pace and her dribbling skills. We were kind of a different team now. But Andy, how would you set up if you didn't have Leah?
Let's say there's no. I'd say a backup. The only person I can think of, and I think I may have said this on one of the other shows, is Blundell going as the left wing, and you could have Kirsty Smith as the left back. So I've seen Hannah, and she's like getting down the wing and trying to help out, get on the attack as well, and crossing the balls in. So I don't know whether Hannah Blundell could be an option down the left. That's if Leah was injured, but no. I think was it our away game at City, because Leah was out with a concussion. He put Ella Toon on the left, and it didn't seem to work for Ella. She was so she was trying to get on the ball and get on the attack, but like I said, in that City away game, it's just like City didn't give you a minute to think. So it was like I say, like Marty said, maybe that's on Skinner's wish list, a left winger or a backup for Leah to and see who we can get in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see how that position develops.
We'll move on to predictions then, just before we move on to a couple of side topics. Marty, start off with yourself then. I said a 2-0 on Anthony's show earlier. 2-0 win, of course. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we'll score 2. Okay, I think we can easily manage 2. I think Reading, if we can't slow Rose down in the midfield, okay, and we're basically leaving Maria and is it Diane, right? As who probably be the backs because Mannion's out still, right? And Millie's not available, right?
Yeah.
So if we're leaving them as being the last defense for Rose, and Rose isn't slowing. Okay, if she takes it off in transition, it's like a give and go, and she gets a great feed. Okay, we're going to end up losing a goal. Okay, we're going to give up a goal because she's that good. All right, and she's that fast. Okay, so I see that happen, but I do see us scoring 2, and I see us hanging on as long as we stay in there and play defense. Oh, by the way, I think somebody mentioned about getting Baltimore for us, and if we can get Baltimore, okay, that would be like a coup. All right, that would be a total coup because she's like phenomenal. Okay, she's definitely worth watching the French team.
Yeah.
Play.
John, score prediction?
I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory. Yeah. I think it'll be I think it'll be a close game, and I think we might just hang on. I think it might be. I think it was 2-1 the last time we played down there. We got a fairly latish winner, so I think it might just go that way.
Yeah, we all say something similar. Andrew, are you going to say something similar or something?
I'm going to go the same score as John, so 2-1. I think Reading will come out and attack us because, say, they still have their outside chance of getting the top 3 themselves, so they'll want the 3 points too. So I think they'll get on the score sheet, but I think, let's say, we've got control of that 3rd spot and we want to keep a hold of that. So, and I think we have. I think more than enough quality in our side to to come away with the 3 points in the end. So it's going to be a tough game, but I think we'll come through it.
Yeah, I think everyone's on the same kind of boat, aren't they? I don't think any of us, even in the comments, thinks that we're going to score more than 2, and it's just whether or not Reading can pull 1 or 2 out of the bag as well themselves. So it's going to be really interesting. This is a fans forum kind of show anyway, so we're just going to throw in another 1 or 2 topics just before we go. Marty, you wanted to talk a little bit about injuries. I know we've spoken about them a little bit about the show, but we can just maybe have another quick chat about them. We've currently got Mannion, Millie, Jade, Ladd, Staniforth, and Brun out. All I'm thinking at the moment, obviously, apart from their well-being, of course, is it going to affect our running? I think it'll be very harsh and lightning striking twice after last season as well. We was right up there last season, had loads of injuries. Marty, what are your thoughts, mate? What are your thoughts on all this amount of injuries?
I don't really. I'm not commenting on why we're having injuries because last year I think there was a great deal having to do with the practice field, because they were getting a lot in practice and things like that. My comment is mainly on why when they have the press conference, prior to the match, a couple of days prior to the match, it comes down to they choose what names to list in terms of who's out, who's in, and it depends upon the reporters or who's ever in the media, talking to the manager to find out who's available. because they don't offer that information. Now, I realize that if I was a manager of the team, I wouldn't say anything unless I absolutely had to. Okay, that just goes without saying. Why should you let them know where you're weak or where you're strong? You just don't give anything away. But what I do think is I think that the WSL, the FA, who runs the WSL, from what I think, being that I'm an American, know nothing about the FA, okay, is I think that they should have a standard. And I don't know if this is what happens in men's league either, because I don't watch the Premier League. That they should just have a standard responsibility to list those individuals, those players who aren't expected to play for that week. And they should have the ability or some type of ability to bring players up, whether it, like you had said about the devs on the bench as a just in case, and realize, they have academy players and things like that, but just players that they can sort of name that, okay, these are your backups type thing, just to be fair. And more importantly, for me to have a clue as to what the heck's going on. So it's very self-serving.
Yeah, I'd just to follow up on that. I think it's there does need to be more transparency with regard to this injury business. It's not really, it seems quite deceitful towards the fans almost, that there's like all this like hush hush about who's available, and when people get injured, and you don't sort of you just sort of very rarely hear about it until sometimes, even when the lineups are announced for the at the start of the game. And it just seems to be we have this thing every around this time of the year where we end up getting a big pile up of injuries as well. So I agree with Marty, really. There should be some sort of official list or something like that where sort of every team can is expected to sort of name everyone that's unavailable and in the time scale.
It's I get it. It's a tough one. Andrew, what's your thoughts on this first, and then I'll come in as well.
So the injuries is my biggest fear, that they're going to derail our season. I mean, like last season did as well. So I just think, like I say, it needs to be more transparent. I'm just thinking like Eva Mannion. They said, she had fluid on her knee. I think it was after the Conti Cup game against Chelsea, and I just remember that goal Penny scored, and then literally Mannion was being twisted and turned, and the way she fell, I thought, that's not good on your knee. But then they said there was fluid on the knee, and I thought it was making out like it sounded it wasn't as bad as it was first of all, but I think she hasn't. It's been a month since she's last played, so I'm just a bit worried that these injuries are they worse than they're making out, and it's just like I just don't want them to, these injuries to cause a derailment in our form, and then we end up losing out on Champions League again, which should be just so unfortunate. So I just think hopefully these players, well, the ones that are out injured, we can get them back as quickly as possible. As I say, we need every player back in the squad, so we can, if Skinner needs to rotate, so we can give those players that are maybe a bit tired or just a bit fatigued, so you can bring on those game changers as well.
I think if we can get through the next two games, we should be okay, because I think we've got a long enough gap there then that we should be able to recover. And just going back to, or else I would say if we didn't, then I would be a little bit nervous, because I do think that it could potentially take its toll. But I do think if we can just get past these two games, injury-wise, we should be okay. More players should come back, and then we've got some gaps between the games where they can recover fully. But going back to Marty's point, I think it's interesting because me and Natalie had Rich Laverty on last night, and we're talking about journalists asking the right questions, and I do think it's tough because fans don't have a right to know everything, but obviously we want to know everything. So I think from that point of view, we want to know if our players are healthy, if they're likely to start, or at least injured. I think that's important. But then do the clubs have to tell anyone? Well, at the moment, no, they don't, I guess, not in the WSL, because we never know unless if a journalist asks a question. But it's definitely a question that I can mention to Miss Laverty or the next journalist that we do have on the show, because I think it's really interesting and it's a good topic to have. So thank you, Marty. I'm going to write that one down and I'm going to bring that one to one of the journalists next time they come on the show. We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm not too sure if Elle can come back because I know she's been having a bit of difficulty with her internet. And Andrew, I'm sure Matt will touch on this on one of his shows, but if you just want to kind of bring in your subject and then John, Marty, if you want to just jump on it before we leave as well, that'll be cool. What was on your mind there, Andrew?
Yeah, it was just something I just read earlier. It was just about the Women's FA Cup. The FA are set to announce a significant increase in the prize funds. I mean, because they're saying that currently it stands about, I think, at £309,000. It's currently standing, but they're saying that's going to increase into the millions. And I think it's good for the women's game that the women's FA Cup are getting that prize money now, because obviously there's the campaign, we want an equal FA Cup as well, and obviously more details will come from the FNs. We're not sure how the distribution of the money is going to feed down, which hopefully feed down from the top to the bottom as well, because we was hearing about some of the teams, in first, second, third round, the money was next to nothing, so it was like, hopefully for those teams that are competing in the early stages and they get through, the money that they'll get from that will help towards the club and the players too. So I just think it's a significant moment for the women's game as well, having that prize fund increased. So it's just what the other people on the panel think of that announcement.
Go on, John. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, great news that. Yeah, I saw it myself just before we came on, and there's been a lot of uproar about it just recently about having an equal FA Cup. So it's very very positive news, and it'll hopefully it'll help out a lot of the sort of smaller clubs down the ladder when it comes to when they play their FA Cup games. So just all around in general, really, it'll be really really good.
Yeah, and just sorry, Martin, I will finish up on you in 1 second. But TJ has mentioned there's an article this week pointing out salaries are around 20k annually. I think that's another topic that Matt's going to talk about on tomorrow night's show, along with Chelsea, I think. So if not, I'm sure he is. But if not, it's definitely something that I want to cover. Just want to get a bit of detail first, a bit more detail, because there's not conflicting stories, but I think it's actually worse than what was actually led to believe, having spoken to somebody else. So I just want to get a little bit more information on that first. But Marty, just finish up with yourself then on the extra prize pot that's been announced.
I think the key is distribution. Obviously, I believe that across the board there are a lot more men's teams than women's teams, and so therefore the men's FA Cup, it will always be larger than the women's FA Cup, at least for the next foreseeable future. Short term. Okay, long term, theoretically, you would like it to be even, but it just doesn't seem like it's gonna. If it gets that way, it's gonna be like 50 years. Okay. I think the distribution is going to be most important, because you're looking at teams that, start out and they end up going into debt just to be able to play with regards to traveling costs. And I think that the way the system is in terms of selecting, where it's total, you got the balls in the bag or the numbers or, that whole thing gets picked out. I mean, granted, the country is not as large as the United States, okay, where in that case, it's extremely expensive to go, say, from Florida to the state of Washington, because you go from one end of the contiguous United States to the other end of the contiguous United States. But it is quite expensive to go from one end of the UK to the other end of the UK, within, say, up in upper right down to lower left is quite expensive for y'all. So I do think that needs to be addressed, because Chelsea and Arsenal's and Man City and even Manchester United, they're not going to suffer okay, in terms of getting their team to where they need to be to play. But the lower levels will.
Yeah.
And the whole idea in terms of the growth of the game and the competition of the game is everybody loves rooting for an underdog. And when you have a tier 4 team actually making it and winning and being able to compete on a fair basis, that's really good for the game. It's good for it's just good for the country. It's good for the sport. It's good. It's just good all around. You can't. There's nothing bad about it. But it really isn't good if they're doing it and they're doing it with an idea of, okay, if I do this, I can't pay my rent. Okay, I can't pay my power bill. I can't put gas in the car. In order to get to work, I've got to figure this out because I'm not getting, I have to make up the difference in my salary because I'm not in the WSL. I'm in tier 4 and we make no money whatsoever. Okay. And so I do think that part of it, when you're looking at making things fairer, that it distributes down, because I do believe it does do that for the men from what I've read. Okay.
Yeah. Look, thank you very much, guys. We are going to shoot off. That is our John. John, nice to see you back on the panel again with me. I know you've been on, but I haven't been able to make it, so it's great to have a catch up with you. And I'll see you at Old Trafford at the end of the month, 27th, I think.
Yeah.
Mother's Day. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we look forward to, have you got your seat booked there yet? Do you know where you're going to be sitting or standing?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my ticket in the in the standing section.
Awesome.
As
Yeah.
far as I know.
Brilliant. So you'll be with me and the rest of us there. Andrew, I'll literally see you in about 15 minutes' time. So I'm looking forward to that one. And Marty, as always, love having you on the show. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everybody. We've got a show tomorrow with Ben and Matt, as always. We've got a bit of All for United on the road, where we supported local teams on Sunday. Monday, match reaction. Hopefully, we've got a few positive faces and happy faces on the screen. I really hope we do, because I think we need it. I really do. And then we'll crack on with next week. So thank you to everybody in the comments. Sorry we are a little bit later tonight. It was my fault. I have been working, so I've literally just got back and got straight on the show at 8 o'clock. So thank you for tuning in, and we shall see you again soon. Thank you, guys.